What's up, guys? What's up, guys? This episode of How to Work Out is entitled Food and Accessories, and it's in reference to accessory exercises. Those two things are often what are keeping people from their results. They're not plugging leaks or strengthening weak links, or they're not eating enough. It's Sunday morning, and what I typically do on Sunday mornings is write programs for my clients. But this Sunday, they all wrote me and told me they weren't done with their last week's programs. So what I was going to do was write them back about their lack of discipline. But I just drank a smoothie instead. We're starting the workout with warm-up number 1. It is quite simply a collection of hip, T-spine, and ankle mobility exercises that help to redistribute load into those areas, or in other words, make the muscles controlling those joints do more work. These are knee circles, one hand on the floor, one hand on your foot with the elbow on the inside of the knee. Use your elbow to push your knee out and back in a big half circle. I know you can do it with the strength of your hip, but I want you to actually use the elbow instead. This is the ballet exercise. It's a hard one. Foot and knee pointed straight out to the side while your body is pointed forward. Shift your weight in towards the foot on the floor without lifting the heel of the foot on the floor. Internal rotation at the hip. This will help you achieve greater squatting depth. All 4 of these hip mobility exercises will make your leg exercises more glute dominant. Your programming over time should create a good load distribution in your body, but these mobility exercises help optimize it just prior to your workout. Now we're moving on to T-spine mobility. The T-spine is your mid-back. It's a larger section of the back than the L-spine or the lumbar spine. It's important that it moves and does a lot of work so that your lower back doesn't have to do a lot of work. I've thrown in some shoulder mobility here, but you can just do the traditional windmill with straight arms. I do 10 reps. Now we've got the Bretzel. I got this one from Gray Cook. It's just a more intense version of this exercise that you're seeing right here. And here's the Bretzel again. Here's the Sprinter. It's an all-around good bang for your buck type of hip mobility and T-spine mobility exercise. I've mentioned this before, but if you don't have a lot of time to warm up, do this one exercise. Keep the rear leg straight and get your foot up beside your hand. Here's another T-spine mobility exercise, this time extension rather than rotation. Tighten your glutes and don't lean back. Here I'm doing ankle mobility. With more mobility in the ankles, you will require less from the knees. And now the final part of the warm-up, that's rolling, which is a form of self-massage. I'm going to do the calves, the quads and hip flexors, as well as the T-spine. Rolling has a very similar effect to stretching in that it forces the muscles to relax. Here I'm using a vibrating roller. I've mentioned it before, but that actually is a game changer. It works so much better than a regular roller. And here's proof that all my glute training is paying off. It's important that you roll out your hip flexors and your quads to make sure you get rid of any reciprocal inhibition, which can keep your glutes from working optimally during your leg exercises. Now we've got some T-spine again. I'm just doing it to make sure that my T-spine is doing a maximal amount of work and my lower back or L-spine is doing a minimal amount. We're going to start off with an exercise for the glute med and min, hip abduction. I'm trying to hit the glute min a little bit more by way of having my feet stacked on top of one another like that. And now we're going into a glute min exercise, which is internal rotation at the hip. And now we're talking Copenhagen plank from the big box. I'm doing 10 reps here. This is an adductor or inner thigh exercise, and the adductors are very important for achieving squat depth. Here's a great exercise I learned from YouTube channel Core Excel. It's for your soleus as well as the muscles on the underside of your foot. Press your big toe specifically into the floor, just like you would on a normal calf raise, and you'll feel it cramp. Speaking of feet, these are toe crunches. They help to improve the arch of the foot. Use your toes only to grab the mat and pull yourself forward. Now we're talking toe taps. This is for the anterior tibialis. Tap your toes as high and as hard and as fast as possible. I did 400 reps. And now we're talking tib raises at the cable station. I do these and a couple other variations. Now these are really the money. These are for your posterior tibs and they make my feet feel so good. Calf raises on the leg press. These are, anatomically speaking, more advantageous to do than a lot of other calf raises. They're similar to donkey calf raises. 1500. And now moving on to boxing. I just wanted to illustrate this one fact. I treat boxing like a sport that I have to practice, not just do workouts for. So here I'm just practicing certain combinations of movements, and later I'm just going to practice single punches. And now this is the reverse paddler. It's the anti-rotation that I use the most, specifically because it gives your lower traps a good warm-up as well. Now we're moving on to forearms, finger extension bands, 50 reps. And now wrist extensions on the bench with straight arms. The wrist extensors of the forearm cross over the elbow, so you should always do these with straight arms. Retraction of the neck or C-spine. I do these probably once a week. Great exercise to combat forward head. Double chin, and then instead of actually doing reps, just keep your head where it is while you're pulling. I'm going to do about 15 seconds.
With the chin down.
So I'm pulling this way, but I'm not letting it go that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a kind of anti-lateral flexion, anti-lateral glide for the neck. The downward dog variation. This is actually a strengthening exercise for my T-spine. My hip flexors are providing the resistance. So I'm trying to get my chest up or my T-spine into extension when my butt is at its highest point. And now internal rotation at the shoulder. In addition to being good for the rotator cuff, a lot of people forget that this is also a pec exercise. Face pull from the low angle. Notice how I separate my hands at the top to make a nice external rotation out of this exercise. And here we've got another T-spine exercise. Again, my hip flexors are providing the resistance. This is more difficult than it looks. I'm trying to keep my chin tucked and my upper body as upright as possible during the lunge. And here we've got the ultimate T-spine exercise, the farmer's walk. But you'll only actually feel it in your T-spine if you do it for an extended period of time. And here's the prone Y. It's for the lower trap. I went to a Cressy seminar once, and he said the lower trap is like the glute of the upper back. Thought that was pretty cool. Cardio. Now we're not just doing 20 seconds for calories, but rather 2 rounds of 20 seconds for calories with a 30-second break in between. So I'm always moving up.